Be Gone, Imposter Syndrome, written by Caroline Cole. You've likely heard of it, even if it's not something you can define off the top of your head. Imposter Syndrome, the nasty, unkind voice that continues to echo in the background, no matter how qualified or experienced you are. For a formal definition, we'll turn to psychologists Pauline Rose Clance and Susan Eames, who first identified imposter syndrome in 1978. They refer to it as the idea that you've only succeeded due to luck and not because of your talent or qualifications. So, if you've ever felt like a fraud, despite cold hard facts that heavily imply another truth, the good news is that there's a name for it. More importantly, you're not alone. In fact, studies indicate that up to 70% of people experience imposter syndrome, or imposter phenomenon, at least once in their professional or personal lives. Within the world of performance, creativity, and the arts, imposter syndrome runs particularly rampant. In a career that relies heavily on artistic interpretation, talent, and other people's opinions, it's easy to feel like a fraud sometimes. As voiceover artists, we experience so much rejection throughout our career. It's not uncommon to feel like a failure after a project falls through, even if you have 100 projects you've successfully completed in the past. Imposter syndrome even ensnares the most accomplished performers, like Mike Myers and Meryl Streep. If it can happen to Queen Meryl herself, goodness knows it's bound to happen to us from time to time. But never fear. Some tips and tricks are at hand to help you out. As it pertains to voiceover professionals, it's important to recognize the signs that you may be experiencing imposter syndrome. After all, we can't fight against something we don't know is happening. Helpfully, in a blog post on the topic, voiceover coach and full-time VO talent Anne Ganguza breaks voiceover imposter syndrome into 5 categories: the perfectionist, the superhero, the natural genius, the soloist, and the expert. Each category Anne's created expertly highlights a different element of imposter syndrome. Believing nothing you do is ever good enough. Trying to do it all to prove yourself, while possibly sacrificing other important things in the process. Attempting to appear naturally good at something. Perpetually working alone so that no one glimpses the real you. Refusing help unless you're confident you can be seen as the most experienced person in the room. If any of the above, or some slight variation, sound familiar to you, then sorry, Charlie, imposter syndrome is not a stranger. Since that's likely all of us at some time or another, let's unpack a few weapons we can wield against this unfriendly foe. 1. Develop a new script. We're no strangers to scripts in our line of work, but the ones we write for ourselves are much more powerful than what we read in the booth. Learning to recognize and rewrite your inner monologue is one of the most powerful practices you can employ against imposter syndrome. For example, if you hear your inner critic telling you, "I've got no idea what I'm doing," practice reframing that into something like, "I'm excited to learn more and gain experience." 2. Fake it till you make it. This isn't permission to turn into a con artist, but a little acting is something we're used to around here. If you don't feel confident, act like you do. 3. Visualize success. Manifesting may be all the rage, and that's because it's onto something. Visualize yourself as a successful voice actor. Be specific about what this looks like. And before you know it, that dream can become a reality. Just remember, you're not alone. Everyone experiences imposter syndrome at some point or another. I know I have. Remind yourself of past successes. Flip that inner script. And keep on keeping on. Don't let imposter syndrome get you down. Caroline Cole is a voiceover artist and writer Learn more at her website, www.carolinecolestories.com, or follow along on Instagram at Caroline Cole Stories and Twitter at @CColeStories. Sources listed beneath the article.